you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche. And after 22 years,
The sickest NHL podcast. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here on the Sick Podcast Network. I'm Jimmy Murphy. He's Pierre McGuire. And, well, I hope you like playoff overtime, folks, because we got plenty of it last night. 3 periods in all. 2 in the Rangers, Carolina, and an extra frame in the Avalanche and Stars. The Avalanche come back from a 3-0 deficit to win in overtime 4-3. And then the Rangers win again in a game that Pierre and I were just saying a couple hours ago on the phone. The Hurricanes looked a lot better in, but they still don't come away with a win. Pierre, just your initial reactions to both of those games.
Well, let's do the Rangers first. Rangers, Carolina. If you're Carolina, you can't go 0 for 10 on the power play in 2 games and the other team go 4 for 9. You lose instantaneously, even if it goes to overtime. And then the other part is you have to take your hat. And I know the Madison Square Garden faithful did that. Igor Shesterkin was phenomenal again. And so Carolina's losing the goalie battle too. And that's Freddie Anderson hasn't played poorly, but he's not played better than Shesterkin. So you're losing the special teams battle and you're losing the goalie battle. That's a problem in that series. What I want to hear are all the pundits after the first period of that game last night giving it to Colorado. I want to hear them all today say, got that wrong.
I don't think you're going to, Pierre.
I'm watching the game, and I'm going, is the game only 20 minutes long? Is that how it works in the NHL now? We only play 20-minute games, and this game's over now?
Yeah. Pierre, you know what happened there? And it was almost, to me, had almost an identical feel of Bruins Florida Panthers in game 1, where you had a team coming in, riding a high from a game 7 2 days before against a well-rested team that could be very rusty. And unlike in the Bruins Panthers game, where the Bruins were able to stem the tide in the third period when Florida started to find their legs, and Jimmy Montgomery calls that timeout, perfect timing there. The Stars couldn't do that. The Stars ended up getting tired. They didn't call a timeout, and Colorado just overtook them, and then they pushed through and got the win in overtime. So, it's you look at it in general, big picture. You get these teams that are well rested but can be rusty. But if when to the opposing team knows when maybe it's losing its legs from playing a couple days before versus the other team gaining their strength, starting to get their game polished up in the game. You got to have a feel of it, and maybe just look. Pete DeBoer's done an amazing job coaching in this playoff, but maybe they needed a timeout. That's all I'm going to say there. Maybe they needed a little. Hey, whoa! These guys are coming. Let's gather our thoughts here.
Can I just throw one other thing in there? There are not a lot of teams that have Cale Makar.
That is true.
They're not a lot of teams that have Nathan McKinnon, and so they have more ability to have mistakes made and still recoup.
Yep. And
as a team.
Yeah.
So the other thing, and again, Jimmy, we just have to call it the way it is. When the trade deadline came and went, I know 2 guys. We didn't pay attention to fluff. We paid attention to the real stuff. What team improved themselves the most on paper?
The Colorado Avalanche. And
there was only one debate we had about what they did. Did they upgrade their goaltending enough? And the answer was no, they did not.
Yep.
But in overtime last night, Georgiev comes up with this unbelievable save. Hey, hats off to that guy. I'm telling you, he must be so mentally tough.
Yeah, Pierre, you know something? If they, and I know we're only 2 rounds in. Okay, so I don't mean to get ahead of myself. But if this continues for Georgiev in the playoffs and let's say they get to the Cup final, they win or they lose, whatever. If they had a Masterton trophy for the playoffs, he would get it in a cinch. I mean, the mental fortitude that this guy showed, to come back from that first game against Winnipeg, and ever since, well, he wasn't lights out right away, but he's coming up with clutch saves. He's making the saves he needs to make to give his team a chance to win. And I think he arguably is one of the better stories right now in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So hats off to him, is right, Pierre. And it's funny, you're talking about the trade deadline acquisitions. Unprompted, what did our friend Eric Lacroix bring up in the podcast? He went right to that.
Randy Duhaime, Trennan, all these guys, Middlestat. He talked about all the guys we had talked about and how they fit perfectly.
Yep.
And I know fans are there saying they traded Bowen Byram. Yeah, they did.
They did.
And
you got to give to get.
They weren't in a rush to do it, but part of why they had to do that is because you've got Devon Taves and you've got Cale Makar and you got Sammy Girard, and contract-wise, they're not going to be able to fit him in. And they know that.
Yep.
So brilliance of their management team, really, and I respect them so much, starting with Joseph, obviously Joe Sakic. But the brilliance of their team is, okay, we can't keep them all.
Mm-hmm.
Who can we use to make our team better? And what's the biggest hole we have? And we talked about this a lot. It was a second-line center.
Yep.
I mean, Ryan Johansson wasn't getting it done. Ryan Johansson's not even playing hockey anymore right now. And I know him very well, and I like him a lot.
Yeah.
Just it didn't work. And I think injuries really set him back. But that was the big gaping hole that they had in Colorado.
Yeah.
Then they go out and get Middlestat, and they add in, Duhaime, and they add in Trennan, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, these two guys are no fun to play against.
No.
And then you see what a free agent signing, Miles Wood.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good depth player.
Yep.
Don't forget they got Ross Colton, out of Tampa a year before, coming off a Stanley Cup. I mean, that management team has been so proactive. And you talk about working up against the cap. That's what they got to deal with.
Yep.
I give Colorado. They've been the least talked about and probably the most impressive.
Yeah, and you know what I love too, Pierre, is the pro scouting that's gone on there. And you can take it all the way back to those signings in the offseason, all the way through to now. But just, everybody talks. Every year you got all these big names, and it's the hot buzz and the trend names heading into a trade deadline. They didn't fall into that trap. They knew what they needed. They identified specific. And when we say specific, I mean it. You look at what Trennan brings on the faceoff dot there, especially on a penalty kill, which was one of the things I remember Bednar saying during the season, that they were getting killed on the faceoff dot and the PK. And he comes in and that changes. So just really specific needs that were identified, and they filled them. So good on the Colorado Avalanche.
Really good. This takes me back to Tampa a little bit, and Julian Brisebois and his pro scouting people. When you think about it, when they got Barclay Goodrow from San Jose, when they went out and got Blake Coleman, they surrounded Yanni Gord with those two guys. Mm-hmm. They go out and get Patrick Maroon. Not the sexy, big, highfalutin scorers, the eye test players, Jimmy.
Yes.
Not the analytic darlings, the eye test players.
Yep.
Think Toronto would like to have a couple of the eye test players?
Yeah, I think they would, and I think they're going to try and stock up on them this summer. We'll see. We will talk about that later, though. I want to say, speaking of the Dallas Stars, well, the team that they beat, the Vegas Golden Knights, has probably got an interesting offseason ahead. So we're going to look back on that series and look ahead for the Vegas Golden Knights. And also, Pierre, good point by you, get a pretty good scouting report on the Dallas Stars from our good friend Dave Goucher, who does play-by-play for the Vegas Golden Knights on TV. I know Dave, we go way back from his days with the Providence Bruins, then the Boston Bruins, where he did play-by-play with Bob Beers on WBZ, did a great job. He called the Cup win in 2011. So got some history with Dave. Goucher is going to be joining us shortly here on the eye test. But Pierre, I want to just quickly back to that Rangers-Carolina series. Totally with you. I want to bring up something, though, that we spoke about on the phone, another topic, too. Does Martin Necas have a head right now if Jacob Trouba connects? He would have been decapitated. That was he was, like you said, Pierre, he was going for the kill shot there. And luckily, I don't know if he slipped or he looked up and said, I got to get the bleep out of the way. And thankfully, nothing happened there and there wasn't contact, because that could have really ended ugly.
Oh, it could have. The one thing I'm going to say about Rangers, they deserve a lot of credit. Peter Laviolette's done a really good job.
Oh, he
His
has.
assistant coaches, Danny Muse, tactically real good. Housley's done a really good job with their defense. Pekka's done a really good job with their penalty kill and with their faceoffs. The staff's done a good job. One of the players that's benefited from that staff has been Jacob Trouba.
Yes.
Jacob's really – last night was not an A game for him. He was in penalty trouble. He had some puck possession issues. But you can still see he's a factor.
Oh, yeah.
Some of his hits, I know some of them are borderline. I get it. I totally get it. But there isn't a team in the league that wouldn't want to have that player on their team.
Especially in the playoffs.
In the playoffs in particular. But I think the Rangers, what people forget is that their better players are now really – they're ornery. They're nasty.
Yes, they are.
And that wasn't – last year when they played Jersey, that wasn't the case at all. They got embarrassed by New Jersey last year.
Yeah.
The whole group did.
I know. And you know what? I think that sat with them throughout the offseason. I think the team purposely made it sit in them and stay in their memories because, you never want to lose like that in the first round when you're supposed to win, but to lose to your arch rival like that, you want to redeem yourself. And that's what they're on a mission to do. But I look at Vincent Trocheck, Pierre. And we spoke about him with Tripp Tracy to start the week off when we had Tripp on Monday. And if you're Carolina, if you're Rod Brind'Amour, you got to be saying, how did we let this guy go to free agency? I mean, you saw it in that, like I said to Tripp on Monday, in that 2022 series, I thought he was the MVP of that team when they beat the Bruins in the first round. And he got better as that playoff season went on. This guy's such a good all-around player, Pierre, and he's got so much passion. I love the passion he brings every damn shift. He's
gotten better. There's a reason why the Florida Panthers moved him within the division, by the way. I think Purdy was part of it. And then he goes to Carolina and probably some really good things and some not so good things, and that's probably why they let him go to market. But give the Rangers credit. Rangers, again, credit. So they fit him in behind Zibanejad.
No, perfect.
So you have to be the guy. And part of the 7-player profile we talk about is you have to have 2 dominant centers. You got it. You got to have a power forward. You got it, Chris Kreider. You need to have a specialist for it. Let's just say Barclay Goodrow's that guy. Maybe it's Lafreniere.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Lafreniere.
I would put him there, actually.
So, I'm just showing you how they're redundant at certain things in the 7-player profile. Elite puck-moving defenseman, Adam Fox. Shutdown guy, Jacob Trouba. It could be Keandre Miller. It could be Ryan Lindgren. Doesn't matter. And then you got to have an elite goalie. Well, they got one. They might have 2 because the other guy won 2 Stanley Cups. Jonathan Quick. So the Rangers they're going to be in beast mode in Carolina. Now, the one thing I'd say about Carolina, they're not great on the road. Go look at their playoff record.
They're tough at home.
They're the different beast at home.
What did I text you during the game last night about my feeling? I said it's going to be a home series.
You did.
I think that's why. And I think every home game is won by the home team. The home team wins every game in their barn. Pierre, that is too. And I get it when you're in a big market like a Boston or New York or Toronto or Montreal. I get how it's easy to just kind of look down on a Raleigh as a hockey market or what their fans can do there. But Pierre, I don't know about you. You work so many games there, and you've worked in so many games in every arena. That's one of the loudest buildings I've ever covered a game in. And it doesn't fail every time I'm there. Now, I'm usually there in the playoffs, but it does not fail. That place rocks.
I remember doing the 0-2 playoffs there with Gord Miller and TSN, and then doing studio shows with Bob McKenzie and Gord in 0-2 when they lost to Detroit. And that's when I said to those guys, because I was used to going to Greensboro when they were in Greensboro before the building was built. And Greensboro, it's a great building, but it's for basketball. It's not for hockey. Yeah. And it's not for an interloper team because the fans there knew they weren't staying. They were going to Raleigh.
Exactly.
So you go in there in 0-2 and you're there in the final. And, Detroit's got the murderer's row of Igor Larionov and Fedorov and Lidstrom and Bowman behind the bench. They got it. They got the murderer's row of players. That was his coming out party.
Yeah.
You look at it and you're going, wow, these guys are really good. And the fans were crazy. It was awesome. The tailgating was, you could smell the barbecue coming into the rink, you know. It was awesome.
My gosh.
So Carolina's a hard place to play.
Yeah.
You know, Jimmy, you talked about the blue bloods in hockey, the original 6 teams, and a lot of the Northeast teams. I get it. You know, I've coached in some of those markets. I totally get it. Raleigh's a really good market.
It is.
Raleigh's a really good market. And the fans are really good there. The fans are good.
You know what, you think about it, right? So correct me if I'm mistaken, but I'm pretty sure there's no other the 4 major American pro sports, NBA, MLB, NFL, and NHL. The NHL is the only one that's represented in that city. Now, I know they've got the Panthers up in Charlotte, but specifically in that city. Now, what do you have around in that city? What's the biggest thing? College basketball, college football. You got so many colleges, and you have one team that these fans, and I think I've said this here before, fans that usually can't stand each other, hate each other, and go head to head in college games, they're all united as one now, and they let it out. I mean, and it's so many college kids there too, so you're getting that youthful exuberance as well. So it's just a cool market. I love it. They love the Canes. When you go to pubs down there, they're talking hockey, and they know their hockey too. They really do. So
I remember going to an event. I think the Tripster might have been at that one. Chuck Caton was there. Mr. Carmanos was there, the former owner, and Kid Rock was there. Kid Rock, wow. It was an interesting evening.
I guess so. Anyway, you know what?
So I had an early flight the next day. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, Amanda, I'm sure, has had some interesting evenings through his travels in the AHL and the NHL. As one of the best play-by-play guys around, is joining us now here. Dave Goucher joining us on the eye test. Let's pull him in. Goucher, how you doing, my friend?
Gentlemen, how are you? Can you hear me?
Great.
Hi, David.
Hey, Pierre. These technical things are not my strong suit, so I don't know.
It's okay.
I feel like I'm trying to connect to somebody on the moon.
You're doing fantastically well. And congratulations. Say hello to Shane Knighting, but congratulations on a great season for both you and Shane. And I know you wanted the team to go deeper, obviously, but that team you lost is pretty darn good.
Yeah, it's tough, Pierre, as you know, right? They, I think they felt when they get everybody back together for the playoffs that they might be able to go on a run again. And I think they feel, they did the media breakup day yesterday, that they just kind of maybe ran out of time. If they were able to get to the second round and get more reps, for lack of a better way to put it, maybe they would have had a chance to do something. But that wasn't the case. They had so many guys, right? Stone coming back from injury. Pietrangelo was out. Hurdle coming off injury, among others. Carrier. They got the band back together, as we say, and it worked for a couple of games. Best game was probably game 6, but those little things, guys, as you know, that decide game 7s. Jonathan Marchessault hits a post on an open net. Jack Eichel had a great chance late in the second period that he couldn't bury, and Dallas comes back down the other end and scores. And usually, it seems those are the things that decide games of that magnitude.
Great.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, Dave. Why waste time? Let's get into the future, the off season. You're there now. What is the feel on some of the potential free agents that they have coming up, and whether they'll be back or not? Obviously, they got some cap issues to deal with, but if there's one guy that you would be stunned to see leave, who would that guy be?
Well, I don't know if I'd be stunned, Murph, but I'd be disappointed if they couldn't find a way to keep Jonathan Marchessault.
That's right. Yeah.
They've got, I think by my count, I think it's 5 UFAs. I think 5 or 6.
6.
There you go. That's a good thing you guys are paying attention. But, Marchessault to me, guys, is along with Mark Stone, is really the heartbeat of the team. And been here since the beginning. Great year for him to have a career year with 42 goals. And, he said yesterday that he wants to stay, and I think they would like to keep him. It's just a matter of, can they work out the math? I say with Marchessault, guys, and it's just me from the outside looking in, the money does matter. It matters to all of us, but, here's a guy that spent 5 years in the American League, right?
Yeah.
Grinding to make it. It's not like he's been in the NHL for 12 years making 7-8 million a year all that time. So that being said, I think he loves it here. His wife and kids love it here, and he's just in the fabric of this team. So I'd be disappointed if they couldn't figure it out. And it remains to be seen here. They took on a lot of money, although they had San Jose keep I think 17% of the Tomas Hertl deal.
Mm-hmm.
They committed a lot of money to Noah Hannafin. Where does Chandler Stevenson fall into this? Where does Alec Martinez fall into this? He's been a terrific player for a long time. Does he continue to play? Does he want to continue to play? But they've got some hard decisions to make. But at the top of that list would be Marchessault.
Jimmy, you know what? Just to build off of Dave's point for a second, I thought a couple years ago they kind of made their bed when it came to, do we keep Riley Smith or do we keep Jonathan Marchessault?
Yeah.
And when they decided to trade Riley Smith, that told me they were endorsing Marchessault long-term, Dave. And you're around it all the time. I'm just looking at it as somebody that studies all these charts all the time and watches all the games like you do. And so I said, okay, they're keeping him. So the next guy I think could be the odd man out, and I hope he's not because I'm a huge fan. I've known the kid a long time. Chandler Stevenson. You already brought his name up.
Mm.
But if you look at the center ice play, Dave, and because you called the numbers, Eichel's there, Hertl's there, Carlson's there, Leroy's there. Where's Chandler go?
That's the question, Pierre, right? And it's a valid one. And I don't know. He's somebody that, look, he came here 5 years ago, I think. And has, he and Mark Stone have been attached at the hip basically for 5 years as linemen.
Yeah.
And that is the question. He deserves a heck of a contract. Are they going to be able to? Are they going to be able to find the money here? And I don't know that. It's hard to say. The other piece of the puzzle is, with Hertl down the middle, I think he's more comfortable at center, and he's going to be here another 6 years. And there's a fixed cost. I think his cap hit for them is like 6.1 or something like that.
It's very digestible. It's really digestible.
Good word. Yeah. So I don't know. Again, I think Stevenson. I think guys, they would all look. Having been blessed to be out here for the last 7 years, we all know how good we have it out here. They'd all love to stay. I don't think Riley Smith wanted to go anywhere.
No,
he didn't.
But does the math work? Or not work, and I guess that's going to be the big question as they move forward here with Stevenson and the others.
Yeah, and guys, we got to point out too, and I mean we discussed it with the man himself. Kelly McCrimmon, of course, George McPhee before him, and I'm sort of now helping him. When it comes time to make moves, they love you. They've got no issues with it, but they can be ruthless. They do what they got to do, and I would think as we're sitting here, we're talking about how these guys have become a fabric of a team and how much they mean to the team. That may be so, but when it comes to the Vegas Golden Knights, Dave, this, they make the moves they got to make. And sometimes it's tough. You got to wave goodbye to people that you don't want to, but they'll do it.
Well, the other part of it, Murph, and I meant to mention this, Pierre, when you brought up Riley Smith, the other piece of the equation with him was they had traded for Ivan Barbashev at the deadline last year.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Right. So, and he was going to be a UFA, and they basically took Smith's money, which was $5 million a year, and moved that over to Barbashev and kept him for 5 times 5. So, but to your bigger point, Murph, yeah, look, they are not, they're never shy about making bold moves. And I think that one of the things that really kind of kicked that into high gear was, look, that first year was miraculous out here, that they were so good so quick. I don't think they really expected that, to be honest with you. I think the initial plan was, and you were around it, Pierre, was, hey, they've got guys on expiring contracts. They're not going to make the playoffs that first year. They'll move them for draft picks or not, right? Or not. Like, that just didn't happen. So I think they did, or not, but they realized, though, I think if they looked from 30,000 feet up, they realized that to be a contender every year, they were going to have to get better. So they trade for Mark Stone. They trade for Max Pacioretty. They go and sign Alex Pietrangelo as a free agent. They trade for Jack Eichel. We know all the moves. So, and look, give them credit for doing it. Especially with the trades. Other teams could have traded for Eichel, and other teams could have traded for Barbashev or Martinez or Stone. Other teams didn't. So they, I give them full marks for knowing. What they felt they needed a stud center in Eichel. They needed a number 1 D in Pietrangelo. Now they've got another one really in Noah Hannafin, who was excellent for them.
That's one of our favorites.
Yeah, so there you go. And,
We were thinking he would have looked nice next to Charlie McAvoy, Goucher. I'm telling you that.
Well, there were probably people that thought he looked pretty good down in Tampa. Too,
Tampa as well, yeah.
In that group, right? But
Exactly.
yeah. So, but and I think he falls into that group, guys, of players come here and they realize it's one hell of a setup, and don't be fooled by the no state tax thing in Nevada is legitimate when you're making that sort of money.
Oh, yeah.
Not the pittance I make, but for their money, it's a whole different story.
Right. It's Texas, it's Nevada, it's Tennessee, and it's Florida, and say thank the state of Washington. Thank you very much. I want to go there.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
how I want to be. Dave, I got to ask you this about Colorado and Dallas. Obviously, we see the come from behind win by Colorado last night. You know both those teams really well, better than most people. Who has the edge?
Well, I think if we were talking, Pierre, after the first 20 minutes last night, it was, and having seen what Dallas was able to do against the Golden Knights, I'd pick Dallas. I think Colorado and their ability, if Georgiev can just give them stable goaltending, I like their chances. I really do. I just think they've got, I know Heiskanen's a pretty dynamic guy for Dallas, but what McGuire brings to it on that back end for Colorado, I think is pretty special. That being said, I got to tell you guys, when the Golden Knights went up 2-0 in the first round, coming home for the next two, you figured Dallas was done, and they weren't. They were far from done. So I don't think it's going to be a short series. I would expect it to go at least 6. I just think, Colorado, the way they were able to just score goals at will, it seemed, against Winnipeg. And then last night on the road, and having just done 4 games in that environment of the playoffs, that's a tough environment to play in Dallas. So I kind of think Colorado's probably got the edge right now, but I think it's going to take a while.
Jimmy, before you get going, I want to ask Dave one more thing. Yep. You would know, because you travel with the guys and you hear what the players say. How big a bite did you guys take out of Dallas physically?
I think pretty good, Pierre. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it was probably the most physical series of the first round.
It was, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, and I know last year they really made a point that they thought their depth at Vegas, they being Vegas, their depth down the middle was tipped the scales. And they really, I think they felt they wore out Heiskanen as that series went on last year. And I think they felt they were getting there in the series this year. If you look at it, guys, and you could say this about some of the guys for the Golden Knights, but for Dallas, some of their higher end guys, Pavelski, Duchesne, guys of that ilk, Hintz, they were pretty quiet that series. Harley, Harley had a dozen goals, I think, in the regular year. Yeah, they kept him at bay. So I do think, you guys know that it takes a toll, when a 7-game series. And now for Dallas, I wonder if they kind of ran out of steam last night. It seemed like it.
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
Quick turnaround.
I agree. I think so.
Yeah. So, but I think, Pierre, they made it a point to try and be as physical as they could against them in that last round.
Pierre, I mean, you've been all over it saying how big a pickup Tanev was for them. Dave, what did he do in terms of, freeing up minutes for other guys and helping steady that blue line?
Yeah, physical, Murph, and just studies the thing. They basically went with 5 defensemen. Nils Lundqvist barely played.
Yeah.
And
5 minutes a game.
I know.
Yeah, right. The overtime game here, game 3, in an overtime game, I think he played 2.5 minutes. So, I think if they could find a way to get Hakanpää back in, then that really would solidify their defense. But Tanev was, they weren't. The other thing I think that maybe caught up to the Golden Knights guys was that Dallas team had been together all year. Really, the Golden Knights, you can say they've been together for a while, but they added Hurdle, they added Hannafin, they brought in Mantha, and they also had guys coming off long-term injuries. Yeah. Dallas added Tanev. That's basically what they did at the deadline. They had this group together all season long. They were healthy most of the year. But, yeah, Tanev was excellent in that series, Murph. And, you've got guys like Heiskanen that can go and Harley that can go. But for Tanev, he made it difficult. The area of the Golden Knights, I think if they had it to do over again, they didn't take good enough care of the puck management, whatever you want to call it. Costly turnovers, some some penalties that cost them, especially in the third and fourth games. And I think that as that series went on, they had a hard time getting to the interior ice. And Tanev was a big part of that for Dallas.
Yeah.
Well, before we let you go, Dave, I just want to bring up you're going to have a new destination on the road, regular destination next year. With Arizona going to Utah. Your thoughts on that and what that might be like?
Well, I'm going to miss going to the frat parties at ASU. I called them like mixers, and Shane Knighty's like, "How old are you?" You know. But I'm kind of, it's funny, guys. I'm kind of looking forward to it. We've done a few exhibition games in Salt Lake, the
right.
Vegas, LA. I forget what they call it, like the something freeze out, the great freeze out, whatever the hell it is. And so we've been to that building a few times. So as much as I love going to Arizona, and it's a hop, skip, and a jump here, over there, I think it'd be kind of cool to go to Salt Lake. It seems like so far the early returns are they're very passionate about having a team there. So
yeah,
that'll be pretty cool.
The most important thing they got a real owner.
Yeah, true.
They got an owner that's going to bring the heat. So all these teams want to do all this free agency stuff. This guy's got real money.
Well, I'll tell you, Pierre, to your point, it's funny.
Cats.
As a quick side note, my cousin, who I grew up with back in Rhode Island, he's lived in Phoenix for 30 years and passionate hockey guy. But, it's a whole long story. But, he would tell you, built the rink in the wrong spot in Glendale, could never really, outside of the first few years, maybe they had the whiteouts of the old America West, they just couldn't gain traction. So, I'm bummed for the hockey fans in Arizona, and we'll see. We'll see if they can figure this out down the road. But this guy Ryan Smith seems pretty serious about having them be good right away. And you could speak to this, Pierre, right? It can't be easy, and you're trying to attract free agents. As great as Scottsdale and Phoenix, that area is, the uncertainty, I would think, had to be a big or a significant red flag for a lot of guys.
Yeah, and if you're going into a building that's got 8,700 people, it's not a lot of fun for players. Don't want that.
Yeah.
One of the great things that has happened in this league, Jimmy, and I'm not saying it because Dave's on. I've told you this before. The way Vegas came into the league, they made every single day an experience that's unforgettable.
Yeah.
The game. Yeah. And you know what? Not enough. And I've been at the practice rink with Dave, so he knows what I'm talking about. People wait in line to go watch practice there.
I've seen the videos of that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy.
I love going there. I can't go there enough. I think it's amazing what they've done there. The fans are awesome.
There's no experience like it in the league, Pierre. Look, I my time in Boston, it was great, and I know Boston fans are extremely passionate, and I understand all that. But I will tell you, I have not seen how one team be loved the way this team is loved.
Yeah.
And I will say in a larger point, the Golden Knights doing what they've done out here has really broken open the dam for the NFL.
That's right.
Maybe Major League Baseball. We'll see if this works out with the A's or not. The WNBA has won back-to-back championships out here. There's talk of the NBA coming here. So, if they had come here, if the Golden Knights came here 7 years ago and they were just kind of okay, but they weren't a playoff team and people were kind of apathetic about them, I don't know if all these other sports would have followed, but full credit to them. They broke the door down in every possible way. Yeah. And now if you're on the outside looking in and saying, why the hell don't we have an NFL team there? Well, now they do. Why don't we put a Major League Baseball team there? You can go right on down the line. So, full credit to everyone that, kind of got this off the ground here 7 years ago.
And Jimmy, you know what's really important? If you're going to do that in a non-traditional hockey market, you got to have media people that are really good. And Dave and Shane Knighty have done an amazing. No, they have. I watch, as you know, I watch all the games. They've done an amazing job for local broadcasts. They are as good as you're going to get anywhere, Dave. And I mean that. And I've done games with Dave. Fully transparent. I've worked games with Dave. And I can tell you right now, he and Knighty do as good a job as anybody in the league.
Well, thanks for that, Pierre. I don't think Shane's very good, but I appreciate it.
I had to kick his butt when he played for me. He always broke you.
He tells me that story. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Just so you know, I'm sure you've heard it from your family and friends back home, but I mean, the second Jack Edwards announced his retirement, it's just bring back Goucher. So You're still beloved here, my friend. They would
Thanks,
love
man.
for you to come back, but I tell people, I'm like, why the hell would he leave there?
I haven't heard anything about it, Murph. I didn't even know.
No, it was all over. Like there was that was the first thing I saw when I opened up Twitter, and that announcement came out. I was like, bring back Goucher. So
You and me both. I think I saw the
It
same
would be a
stuff.
smart move for them. I just don't know if they Massachusetts taxes or Nevada taxes.
Yeah, right.
That's your choice.
That's a lot to ponder for my small brain.
Yeah. Well, hey, Goucher, we appreciate you taking the time. I'll tell Tommy Hohall you say hello.
Yeah,
right?
please do. Please do.
All
Good
right.
to be with you guys.
Thank
All
you.
right.
See you.
That's
Bud.
Dave Goucher joining us here on the Eye Test Sick Podcast Network. He's great. He's one of the best in the game, Pierre. He really is.
It was really good. And the thing is, with reps, you do a lot more games and you're the guy. You're not the backup guy. You're not the third guy. You're the guy. With reps, you get better. And he's done a lot of reps and he's gotten really good. And he's a big part of the voice of that team for the fans. And, you know, he and Shane have done really good. I'm really proud of Shane. I had Shane when he was a young kid coming out of junior. And he played for me. And I said to him, after about 2 or 3 practices, I said, I think you're going to be good enough to play in the NHL, and I'm going to help you get there. And it took about 2 or 3 months, and he got there. Yeah. He had a good career.
I'll tell you, Pierre, we talk about earlier when we started the show, when we were talking about some of the moves that Colorado made and teams that, really have specific needs, identify players for trade deadline or free agent signing. And he was one of those guys, Pierre, for that 2010, 2011 Stanley Cup team in Boston. I'm telling you, whoever the connection was, whoever knew of him and did their research on him, kudos to them, because he was one of those guys. And, Pierre, he just has that personality, that work ethic where he can come in and seamlessly fit into a locker room. And he did that. And even though he didn't play a lot, he was huge for a lot of those players that were playing a lot, because he would test them in practice. He would encourage them. So, yeah, I always had a good spot for Shane Knighty. Good for him that he's gone on.
Good for you, Jimmy, because you nailed it. He's a real good kid. And, I'm really proud of what he's done with his life and with his career, and good for him. He really – I'll never forget working with him, and I'm really, really proud of what he's done. Really proud.
For sure. All right, Pierre. Well, listen. Oh, by the way, before we get to questions and stuff, I don't think it's any surprise who won, but thoughts on the draft lottery last night?
Really? You're going to ask me that?
I'll tell you, Pierre, it was
I was really surprised that San Jose won. No. Well, first of all, congratulations to Mike Greer, the ownership of San Jose. Whomever's going in there to be the next coach, you just became a better coach. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it means to whether Macklin will leave BU or not for next year. I don't know if Will Smith, I see all this speculation online. Will Smith will go because Celebrini's going to go, and that'll push Ryan Leonard out of BC, and he'll go to Washington. Mm-hmm. And then the Rangers will sign Gabe Perreault, and everything will be blown up in Hockey East. And I don't believe that to be true.
I don't believe that at all, Pierre. I'm very much just on what I'm hearing. I very much think there's a strong chance that they all stay in college, even Celebrini. And I'm not saying, I'm not reporting that's what will happen. I'm saying that is my gut feel, my hunch, based on conversations that I've had with some people pretty close to the players. So.
Yeah, your sources are good. I would say that it'll be interesting to watch, but I will say this: Macklin is clearly the best player available. He will get drafted by San Jose.
Yep.
He will be a star player in the league, and he will be an amazing ambassador for their franchise. Mm-hmm. He will be, and so will Will Smith.
Yep.
And so it's part of the 7 players. Now they got 2 down the middle. It's going to take a little time. Yep. Now they got 2 down the middle. That's 2 of the most important parts of the 7 players that you got to have. Yeah. So that's really a good step forward for the people in San Jose. It really is.
For sure.
It's not going to happen overnight. Like, I'm reading all this stuff. Oh, now they're going to win.
See, I was just going to get to that.
Take a deep breath, please. Yep. Take a deep breath. Yep. Got a ways to go, but I'm really excited. In terms of the other teams, Chicago's going to get a real good player. They are. I think if you're picking 10 and down, you're going to be okay. Now, they're not all going to play right away. It's going to take time.
Exactly.
But eventually you're going to get, if you're 10 or down, you're going to get a player that's going to help you.
Now, Pierre, whether it was yesterday or the day before, forgive me for not remembering, but we were talking about the difference between this draft and next year. And you seem to think that next year is a deeper draft.
Yeah.
So my question to you would be, why would the Ottawa Senators decide to keep their 7th overall pick this year and forfeit the pick next year?
Because they may think their team is actually going to be better next year, so they're going to be picking deeper. That's number one. Number two, the strength of this draft is probably defensemen, especially where they're picking.
Yep.
So that's something that they need. Preferably a right-hand shot that is a stopper, not an offensive guy, but a stopper. So I think that's actually not a bad decision by them. And I think they also want to show their fans that they're really motivated and engaged to make the team better long-term.
That's a good point.
So there's a lot of different things there. It's a great hockey market. I'm telling you, Jimmy.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Worked there twice.
Yeah.
I lived there. It's an amazing town. It's a great hockey market. But they have to start to win. They have, and I told this to Mr. Melnick before he passed away. It was critically important that we mend a lot of fences in the community because a lot of the fences had been broken.
Yep. And
you needed to fix them, especially with the corporate community. And it was starting to get there. And then unfortunately, Mr. Melnick passed away. And, in my case, and so you just move along. But I do think that the market is really strong and has the ability to be amazingly competitive. I really do.
All right, good stuff. Well, let's talk about our sponsors first, and then we're going to get right to questions because they're lining up there. And I see that Jason Logan would like us to talk a bit more about gas tenors. We promised we would yesterday, so we'll get to that in a second. But let me tell you about CBET right now, folks. We got 2 games tonight. You got the Florida Panthers and the Boston Bruins in Game 2 down in Sunrise, Florida. And then the Vancouver Canucks are hosting the Edmonton Oilers in the beginning of their second-round series. Pierre, it feels like
I didn't know they were still playing. I thought the West was out.
Yeah, I know. They haven't played in so long, man. We talked about one team having rust and one team riding momentum. Both teams are going to be rusty in this. It should be an interesting first period, I think. But we'll see what happens. So speaking of that, if you want to go over to CBET right now, make your first bet and use the code SICK. That's SICK, like our song. SICK is the code to get $300 back, win or lose on your first bet there. So you get some play money right away to use there. You might want to look at the first period over. Could be a little sloppy. That's just my little inside tip for you there. So go over and check out CBET as well. And, of course, our other sponsors, TCS Customs and Logistics. And, again, thank you for that note to Michael Maislin yesterday. We appreciate it. Unlock the full potential of your shipping operation with TCS Customs and Logistics. From around the corner to around the world, flatbeds to air freight, customs clearance to drawback consulting. TCS is a one-stop shop for all things transport. Moving pieces and delivering a peace of mind. For a no-obligation customs or freight quote, contact Sick Podcast at shiptcs.com. Again, that's Sick Podcast at shiptcs.com. All right, let's get to the questions here on a Wednesday afternoon. What do we got? Jeffrey B. Hey, Pierre, great segment on Morning Cup of Hockey. What will Dallas need to contain their first rounder in Goucher? He's absolutely built for playoff hockey.
Well, we just talked about Chris Tanev. He's got to be one of the guys that can do that. Esa Lindell's another one that's going to have to do that. And they're going to have to stay out of the penalty box because if that power play gets going with McGuire and McKinnon and then Nichushkin, it's hard. It's hard. I haven't even talked about Rantanen yet. So That's the problem. I mean, everybody's talking about all these other teams. That Colorado team's for real. The only question mark we had at the start was the goaltending.
Yeah.
And in game 1 of Winnipeg, it looked like we were going to be right about that. And this guy showed unbelievable mental reserve, talking about Gorgiev. But I would say the way to stop Nichushkin is you got to make sure you play 5-on-5, keep him to the outside. It's got to be bigger bodies. And one of those guys is Tanev. Tanev is one of the bigger guys that can handle him.
All right, next question. Morant, hello, gentlemen. Vegas had a 2-0 lead in the series against Dallas. Both wins on the road in Dallas and then lost the first 2 games in Vegas. What went wrong with them?
There's a guy named Pete DeBoer that coaches Dallas. He used to coach Vegas. He knows organizational strengths and weaknesses better than Bruce Cassidy knew Dallas's. That's number one. Number two, Jake Ottinger was phenomenally good in games 3 and 4. He was not great in 1, and he was not great in 2 in Dallas. And I think the third thing was the Dallas Stars guys, they had played Vegas the year before. Yeah. And there was a carryover to some, we're not getting embarrassed by you guys. You embarrassed us last year and you won the cup. You're not doing that to us this year. So those were I thought the key things that happened in that series.
All right. Next question. Joe, question, boys. With the lottery done, which player is better? Demidov, Lindstrom, or Seneke?
Demidov.
Yeah. He's got the most raw talent, Pierre? But
he does.
Around the game out.
He does. That doesn't mean he's going to be the best player long term, but right now he's probably the guy that's got the most upside.
All right. Next question. Alex Ivanovsky, what do you think of Adam Fox's overall game? We all know about his offense, but do you see him becoming more and more of an overall top D man also on the defensive side?
Got to be careful, Alex. The knee on knee with Nick Jensen in the Washington series, I can see it, and I've been watching Fox for a long time. He does not have the same lateral mobility, and he doesn't have the same straight-ahead speed. He's still amazingly effective. He's unbelievably effective, but I don't think he's 100%, and you could see it. I'm a huge Adam Fox fan, so I will never, ever back down on that. He's a Norris Trophy winner, and he's a leader, and he's a guy that really cares. He really, really cares. So do I think he's 100%? No. Do I think he's going to be better when he's 100%? Yes.
All right, next question. Randy Workman, Jimmy and Pierre, I don't care what anyone says. Vincent Trocheck has to be rated one of the best second-line centers in the league. Where would you guys rate him as a second-line center? Randy, I 100% agree.
We are so on the same page with you, Randy. There's some other second centers in the league that are good. It depends how you want to quantify them. I learned from Scotty Bowman, never number your lines, because one night your first line's your fourth and your fourth line's your first.
Yep.
But there are some really good second-line centers in the league. I'll give you an example. Florida Panthers, because they're still playing.
Yep.
Okay, Sasha Barkov is their number one, right? You would say?
Yes. Yep.
That freaking Sam Bennett's your number 2.
I know, and they're missing him. Out again tonight, by the way. Not
what
playing.
A nasty piece of business. He is so freaking hard to play against, but you know what? Everybody wants him.
Yep.
So it depends how you quantify the number 2 role.
Yeah. What do you I mean, Nazem Kadri, I think, is always a good guy to have behind your top guy.
Anthony Cirelli in Tampa. Yeah, then go around the league. There's so many guys. I mean, if let's just say you play Stamkos in the 1 hole. Let's just say you do.
Mm-hmm.
And then you put Braden Point in the 2 hole and you have Cirelli in the 3 hole. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it depends on how you do it. Every team's a little different. So, it's hard to say conclusively, but I'd say the guy that Randy picked, he's really good. We're talking about Vinny Trocheck. He's really good.
For sure. All right, next question. Here we go. A to Z me. Gonna be interesting to see where Marchessault ends up. Probably his last big contract. Doubt he signs a short term, even at his age. He'd be a nice fit for the Habs, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I think like Goucher made a great point. He deserves this money, Pierre. It's not like he's being greedy if he's asking for it. He's worked really hard to get this opportunity to hit pay dirt. So, I think he goes back. That's my gut, but I never rule anything out.
I'll be shocked if he's not part of the Vegas Golden Knights. And, I knew all about Barbashev, what David talked about, but I also know I went and did a lot of scouting there when I was working in Ottawa. And I just tell you right now, there was a choice made by management in Vegas. Are we keeping Riley Smith or are we keeping Jonathan Marchessault? They chose to keep Marchessault and trade Smith.
Yeah.
Barbashev was never part of the equation because he wasn't there.
Yeah. Yep. I'm with you. So that will carry a lot of weight now. All right. Next question. Gentlemen, wouldn't it be, this is Morant asking this. Gentlemen, wouldn't it be nice if somehow we had, after the Stanley Cup Finals, we have 2 Canadian NHL teams play a best of 7 for strictly Canadian champions?
Okay. Can I just say one thing? I was born in the United States, but I moved to Canada when I was really young.
Yep.
I grew up in Canada. Okay. I've worked in Canada. I've worked in the United States. I have a house in Canada and I'm proud of it. My children were born here. My wife is from here. I love Canada. I also love the United States. But here's one thing everybody needs to know. Those Canadian teams, they have American players, Swedish players, Russian players, Czech players, Slovak players. It doesn't matter. They're not Canadian.
Yeah, I know.
We have to get over this stuff. It's like, where was it, Jimmy? In the
media.
playoffs, somebody was chanting USA, USA. I'm like,
okay, thank you. That was in Toronto. It was Toronto at Boston in game 1, that Saturday night game. And it drove me nuts. And I couldn't.
Dude, Austin Matthews is American.
Yeah, I know. So Pierre, I know, and right on you to mention me and say, don't always type what you want to say, but I couldn't handle it anymore because it's just such a lazy, uninformed, ignorant chant to do at an NHL game. This is the most multicultural league in pro sports. USA versus Canada has nothing to do with it. They're specific teams, cities. So it's Toronto versus Boston. It's not Canada versus the US. And yet they do it. And I'm like, guys, this is dumb. It's just a dumb chant to do.
Matthew Nyes is from Scottsdale, Arizona. Jake McCabe is from Wisconsin. He was the captain of a USA World Junior team in 2015 or 2013 that won a gold medal. Joseph Wall went to Boston College. He's from St. Louis, Missouri.
Where's the captain of Boston Bruins from? Oh, Canada. So
he's from the Maritimes. What are we doing? We gotta stop this. Gotta stop it.
I hear you. All right. Next question. Morantz wants to say he didn't mean it from that angle. He wasn't trying to do the nationalism. No, Morantz. Sorry, I went on a rant there, but that's something that's been bugging Pierre and I because it's happening too much in the arenas. Yeah. All right, Eric Landreau. It's been a treat to watch Lafreniere playing well and with confidence. Why do you guys think Kakko, who was the NHL ready with size and skill when drafted, can't seem to take that next step? That's a great question and a great opportunity.
So most Finns play on a hybrid rink. It's 200 by about 90 to 93. That's why a lot of their players come over here and they don't have a problem with the physicality. Most international rinks are 200 by 100. So it's a wider rink, less body contact, more time to make plays. I think in Kakko's question, he got rushed into the NHL on a mediocre team and he never was able to get his footing. And it shows you why it's so important because that kid was ready to play, I thought, but he needed to be on a better team. That's why you don't rush guys on mediocre to bad teams because as 18-year-olds, they get exposed and their confidence gets shattered. Yeah, I've only seen one guy really thrive in any environment like that. It was Chris Pronger. Chris played for us in Hartford. He made the NHL All-Rookie team. And if you go look at his stats, his first year in the NHL was his best year in his first 4.
Wow.
Okay. Wow. He's one of the only guys, and it's because he was so darn good. Mm-hmm. And he had one of the best partners you could have in the late Brad McCrimmon.
Yep.
But right. Chris was he's one of the only guys I've seen come onto a mediocre to bad team, which is what we were, because we were a total rebuild, that could play at that age and do so well.
Yep. Interesting stuff. Keep that in mind with San Jose later on. Yep. All right. Next question. Andrew P. If David Reinbacher was in this year's draft, where do you think he'd go?
6 to 10.
Yeah. Just because there's so many good defensemen?
Yeah, it's more of a defense-heavy draft. 6 to 10. But okay. the defensemen in this draft are really good, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bulliam from Denver is really good. Oh, Jimmy, yeah. I showed you.
Right when they beat UMass. Yep.
You were at the game with me, and I said, You see why this kid's going to be an NHL player? Watch this clear.
Yeah.
Backhand, shorthanded, 2 forecheckers coming on him, escapability, and up and out of the zone. It's an NHL play.
Yeah. He knows already how to do it. So on him. All right, next question. Jason Logan, what do you think the Canes need to do better? Anderson hasn't played bad, I know, but they got to score and they have that many PP. But is there anything else a little deeper?
Yeah, they got to get the pucks to the wing. It's too slow up high. So Burns got to be quicker with the puck. He's one of the biggest culprits on this. They're too slow. The Rangers don't have to move around enough, and they're not creating enough chances because everything's kind of stagnant. The puck needs to move quicker. I guarantee you in game 3, you watch the adjustments Carolina will make on their power play. They'll start moving bodies and start moving the puck, and it'll force the Rangers to move, and then there'll be more seams open on the backside.
Well,
that's the adjustment they have to make.
Yeah, and that's been one of their biggest strengths through the season was their cycling.
Power play and penalty kill have been phenomenal, but that'll I believe they're going to be a different team at home. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I 100% agree. All right, next question. Vincent Yoel. Hello, gentlemen, and hey, happy Wednesday to all the eye testers in the comments. Question: do you think an NHL team could do something similar to the Green Bay Packers and be a regional fan-owned team?
I do.
Question.
I think that's a great question by Vincent. I've said this for years, and I give Mark Chipman, the owner in Winnipeg, a ton of credit for this. They've done everything in their power to make their team a regional team. So when I talk about the region, you have to think with me here. Northwestern Manitoba, Thunder Bay and West, Northern Minnesota, Northern North Dakota, and Eastern Saskatchewan. But what you need, and Mark's really good at this, Chipman, the owner there, what you need to think about is how you schedule. So if you're going to be a regional team like that, you have to have friendly for families to come. So you have to make deals with hotels. It's cold there in the winter. So preferably they have indoor swimming pools for kids to use. I'm just giving you ideas. You have to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's kind of your game. So you have double headers so that people aren't going to be missing work. And you have to make the ticket price reasonable. And if you can do that and get some subsidies, from corporations, sponsoring tickets so that I think Winnipeg's one of those teams that can do that unbelievably well. I really do. And it's not far from Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Yeah. No,
so
that's an interesting question.
That's one team that can. I really do.
Yeah. Great question. All right. Next question here. Filterless Bear, is Scott Stevens coaching anywhere? If not, Hab should add him to the staff. The penalty kill and intimidation factor would skyrocket. That's a good idea.
You know what's that name of the questioner? Filterless Bear?
Filterless Bear, I believe. Can you pull that up
I
again?
I agree with that, by the way. And I don't know if Scott watches this or not, but Scott loves to go hunting. He does. Scott's an outdoorsman. He loves to hunt.
All right.
So one of the things I really loved when he was coaching as an assistant coach in Minnesota, and people forget this.
Yeah.
He was in Minnesota.
I remember it.
He did an amazing job there. I'm just telling you, go look at when he was there. He did a really good job there. And I used to talk to him a lot about it. I was like, oh, you should go be a head coach. This and I go, no, I like what I'm doing right now. I think this is great. I don't know if he wants to come back and do it or not, but I'll tell you one thing. He did an amazing job in Minnesota. Yeah. I know he worked in Jersey too, but I'm just telling you, in Minnesota, he did a great job.
He's working with Ryan Suter there back in the day. So here we go. Next question. Ron LaRoque. Hi, guys. Great guests. Yeah, Dave's the best. Just want to say a heck of a series in the WHL Eastern Conference Final. Saskatoon, Moose Jaw winning in 7. 6 games of the series went to OT. Have you ever seen that before?
I probably have. I just can't remember. But I think I told this to Jimmy once before. There's a new arena in Moose Jaw. The old arena used to be called the Crushed Can, and Jimmy had the best ice, fast ice, super fast ice.
Great name.
You come out of the rink there in the winter, you want to drive back to Regina, or you go out west and you find your way, let's just say, for the sake of argument, you're going to Speedy Creek, Swift Current. But before you left town, right across the street from the old Crushed Can, there was an A&W there, Jimmy. It was a great A&W.
Oh,
so you go in there, you grab a couple hamburgers, you grab some fries, and you get a big, tall root beer, and you get on the road. I loved it out there. I used to go there all the time. We drafted a player in Pittsburgh from there, and he's been an unbelievably successful coach in junior in Manitoba. I played 12 years of pro hockey. We drafted him, I think, in the 11th or 12th round, if I remember. His name's Paul Dick, D-Y-C-K.
Okay.
He was a really good offensive puck-moving defenseman. I watched him play a ton of games there in Moose Jaw. He was really good. Think the world of him. They just put him in their Hall of Fame not too long ago. But I have fond memories there. So they just beat Saskatoon. Moose Jaw just did.
That sounds like a hell of a series. And Pierre, you got to write a tour guide sometime for people. All the hockey spots, the little small spots in North America would be great.
When Melanie took our son Ryan out to play in Penticton, they drove from Mont-Tremblant, Quebec to Penticton, British Columbia. So the way we set the trip up is it was 6 to 8 hour drives at the longest. Okay, Jimmy? Okay. And then you'd stop at a hotel. Ryan needed to work out, and Melanie obviously needed to decompress.
Yeah.
So we set it up. So the first one was in Northern Ontario. It was Thurso, I think it was. No, it wasn't Thurso. Sorry. It was Timmins.
Melanie, we said thanks.
Timmins. Then it was Thunder Bay. Then it was Winnipeg. Then it was Speedy Creek, Swift Current. Then it was up to Banff. And then it was into Penticton. That's how we set it up. But I had them going all these places. It was pretty good. I was jealous because I was working and I couldn't go.
Yeah, and all the dives on the way.
It would have been good memories,
I'm telling you, it would be great. We got to do that. All right, next question. Fake sakes. Why is Justin Barron so underrated by Habs fans? I think he's got second pairing, second PP potential.
Okay, so part of it is you got to look at who he was traded for, Arturi Lehkonen. So the fans see what Lehkonen's doing and the fact he's won a Stanley Cup, and they're seeing no playoffs in Montreal, and they're comparing Justin Barron and Arturi Lehkonen. That's not fair, number one. Number two, takes defensemen longer. Mm-hmm. And number three, to their credit, and this is for Jeff Gordon and Kent Hughes, what they've done, I think, Jimmy, is set themselves up long-term for unbelievable success by the depth they have on their defense. So it's an internal battle every day for those guys. So that I think Barron will be fine. I don't see him being a top 4 guy in a really good team. I see him being a 5-6, but you got to have those guys. They still matter. They still matter.
Yeah, they've got a wealth of defensemen who either keep or use to get other capital, whether that's picks, forwards, whatever have you. But all right, next question. Ron LaRoque, speaking of Saskatoon, Anaheim has a great pick in Yegor Sidorov, playoffs, 16 games played, 15 goals, 8 assists. The puck just seems to follow him, not the other way around. And did I miss the McKenna talk? No, we have not.
Yes, you did, Ron. You missed the McKenna talk. Jimmy knows that's my new favorite, Ron. I love Ron's questions, by the way, because Ron's a hockey guy.
Juniors.
I just love it. The fact that he has the passion and he brings up really tangible names.
Yeah,
so
I'm learning
about Anaheim. We've talked about our friend Greg Cronin's coaching there.
Oh, yeah. He's
Verbeek's done, a player that I used to coach. Pat's done a really good job there with his group. Martin Madden Jr., they the whole group, they've done a good job there. But the answer is Gavin McKenna, I think, will be at that same level as Celebrini and all these great guys we've seen come. I haven't seen, and I hate to do this because there's a lot of pressure on the kid already.
Yeah.
Jimmy, he's really good. Like I can't wait. I know you haven't been there, but I think we got to get a road trip to Medicine Hat to go watch him play.
Let's do it.
You got to do it. If Ron can set us up, we'll go.
Yeah. All right. We'll be in touch. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. And by the way, too, I heard you talking about McKenna with Mitch, and you said the only player you won't compare him to is who?
Sid.
That's it.
I won't, because it's not fair to him.
Yep. But you're still comparing him to some pretty other damn good players, Pierre.
I told Mitch this, and this is for our listeners on the Sick podcast. Fans got mad at me because when Sid was young, so I'm going to say the 16 years old, Helsinki World Junior, 2004, Canada lost to the U.S. It was one of those bad luck things. Marc-Andre Fleury went to clear the puck. He shot it into Braden Coburn. Puck goes in the empty net, and Canada loses a gold medal. But that team the next year went into Grand Forks and blew everybody up. Like, they were so much better than everybody else. So I said about Sid, I said he's got, the passing ability of Gretzky. He's got, the peripheral vision of Gretzky, the passing ability of Lemieux, and the body strength and the cycle ability of Peter Forsberg. Well, that went over really well. Everybody's like, that's heresy. You should never say that. That's awful. You don't know what you're talking about, all this stuff. Well, here we are, almost 20 years later.
Yeah. You did pretty well on that scouting report, my friend.
I don't think I was too far off on a 16-year-old.
No. And I heard you say that this kid's a pretty complete player too. You like his 200-foot game.
I really do, Jimmy. I think Gab McKenna is going to be really special, and I'm not the only person that thinks that. By the way,
yeah, but
there are a lot of guys I've spoken to since I watched them. They feel the same way.
Awesome. Can't wait to see him play. All right, next question. Shane Looney. Hey, Pierre, give us 3 names you like at 5 for the Habs to draft in Vegas this year. I like Lindstrom, Seneke, and Perique. I hope I pronounced that right.
Yeah, well, they're all good choices. I'm going to add one more to you, Cole Eiserman. And I know a lot of people he's been dropping. You know, a lot of people before the season started had him at 2 or 3. And now I see a lot of these lists have him at 13 or 14. Some even have him at 15. What's the one thing the Canadians need the most, Jimmy?
They need scoring.
They need scoring. Cole Eiserman can score.
Yep. I agree, Pierre. I agree. All right, next question. State of survival. Hey, guys, have you ever met Harold Ballard? Well, he's a little before me. If so, what was he like? Pierre, I'll let you handle this one because I know this could go in all different directions.
I met him. He would, if he were still alive, he wouldn't have remembered me, but I met him.
Okay.
He was a very unique human being.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Morantz, guys, any news on Jonathan Drouin back for the playoffs? No, but told us yesterday, Pierre, just in case they missed that, that they were hoping he'd finally get back on the ice this week, but he hasn't been on the ice at all. So I mean, you're thinking at least mid-3rd round right now, I would think.
Yeah.
So,
and the other thing, by the way, Jim, thanks, Derek Lacroix. He was
he was great.
He was so good yesterday. I talked to our good friend Michel Goulet that had listened, and we were both marveling at how well Eric did. So that was great. And that was a really good scouting report on Drouin from Eric
and McKinnon as well. All right,
McKinnon was good.
Oh yeah. Next question. Alex Ovanowski. I remember when Detroit traded Manther and a lot of fans got upset. It all comes down to timelines. When's your team's window and what's the respective players' window? He's absolutely right. And look, I remember Pierre just quickly writing a story about that kid before his draft here, and met him out there up in Montreal. I was doing some stuff for NHL.com, and I went and watched him play, and I was like, wow, this kid's got the goods, but it's just, for whatever reason, it's just never materialized for him.
I don't think people realize how hard the NHL is.
Yeah.
And one of the most important parts about being a really consistent NHL player is mental strength. It truly is. Nathan McKinnon is so mentally strong. It's unbelievable. And I look at all Sidney Crosby, look at Mary, all these guys, Wayne Gretzky, Yari Curry. Like, I can go down the line, all the guys, Christopher Pronger, like all these guys that are in the Hall of Fame. You think they just got there because they liked hockey?
Yeah. I mean, it's
a hard business. It's really hard.
Well, Pierre, you say, I know it's not the same, but you say it to me all the time about hockey media and even management, and making sure you always find mentors and listen to those mentors and apply it, like try to learn from as many people as you can. And I wonder, sometimes with kids, maybe it's not that he hasn't had that available to him, I imagine, but sometimes you don't think. I mean, how many times I say, man, I wish I listened to my dad when I was younger about that. It's just the same thing. Like, and just for all you young players out there, anything you're doing in life, whether it's, hockey media or whatever, just always make sure you learn as much as you can, because it can do nothing but help you. That's all I'll say about that.
Most amazing advice I ever got was on the floor of the old football stadium in Vancouver at the 1990 draft. We had just taken Jaromir Jagr. I was all jacked up. And Bob Johnson goes, everybody says that's a great pick, kid. I said, yeah, it's a good pick, coach. It's a good pick. He says, remember this. I said, what's that? He says, learn something new every day. So now Jagr's gone. Tell me something else. I want to learn something new. And I was like, you know what? Every day I've lived my life since then.
Wow.
I've tried to learn something new at the rink every day, or about life every day.
Yep. There you go. It's a good way to live. All right, next question. Hey, gents, now that the lottery is over, when do you guys think Ottawa will swallow the pill and let the NHL know which first rounder they will forfeit? Can't keep pushing the decision back. A to Z me, they did that today.
Yeah, they had to do it within 24 hours, and so they're going to use the pick this year. I don't blame them.
Yep.
I don't blame them. All right. Keep going. Got more questions.
More questions. Let's do it. What do we got? Chris Blue Shirts, question for Pierre. I know you do Montreal radio on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. When are your other radio hits? Keep up the good work. Let's go Rangers.
I'm on with the great Mark Madden every Tuesday at 3:30 in the afternoon in Pittsburgh, and that's a long hit. That's about a 20-minute hit in radio world. That's a pretty substantial hit. And today I had the good fortune of being on with a real good friend of the league, and to me is Jim Rome, an iconic radio figure. And we'll see how much more I do of Jim, probably more than less as the playoffs go along, but I really enjoyed that. And I was on a podcast earlier this morning with a couple guys that we know very well, Colby Cohen, who scored the overtime winning goal of a national championship, and Johnny Lazarus. So, I've been doing a lot of stuff with the radio lately, and I have a great partner in Jimmy Murphy that I work with 5 days a week, which is awesome.
Yep. Feelings mutual, my friend. Feelings mutual. And I highly recommend you listen to Pierre and Mitch Melnick if you don't already, because it's always a great hit. You'll learn a lot. All right, next question. Jason Beernat, off topic. Has anyone ever seen JM without a hat? Usually just when I'm at the games, buddy. Usually when I'm at the games, but yeah.
I think you look like Colin Farrell.
That's what Melnick's telling me. No sugar, but my hair is a lot grayer, so maybe I should color it like him. I don't know, but I highly recommend that show too. By the way, people check it out. Apple TV, Sugar. It's with Colin Farrell. It's awesome. All right. Next question. Samuel Matei, Pierre. Here's a non-hockey one for you today. What's the name of the restaurant in Winnipeg? I'm heading there in July for a weekend and would like to check it out.
You're going to go to Highs.
Okay.
HY''S. And you're going to go there, and it's not far from the Fairmont Hotel. It's right near Portage in Maine, downtown Winnipeg. I used to go to a couple other places, but I think one of them was not open. I didn't go there for eating either. It was called the Palomino Club, and I don't know if the Palomino Club's still there or not, but I can tell you one thing. If you're looking, you got to look it up. Jimmy, could you go online and see if the Palomino Club is still in Winnipeg?
Yeah, you know the spelling?
Palomino, 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 I think.
Okay. Palomino Club.
Winnipeg.
Yeah, there we go.
Is it still there?
It is still open. It is currently closed as we speak, but it is
Friday nights. If you
it's only a weekend open for
it. So Friday. I was just going to tell you, Friday nights at the Palomino Club. If you like country music and other things, it's a good spot.
It looks like it's hopping there.
You do a little steak at Highs, and then you go and shift over to the Palomino.
And you work it off. All right, good stuff. I think that's it. We got any more? I think we're good, eh? Yeah, it looks like we're good. Pierre, tonight, what do the Boston Bruins have to do to take a 2-0 lead back to Boston?
Don't let the Florida forecheck get to you early.
Okay.
You know they're going to come. They're going to throw everything at the defense but the kitchen sink, and they might even throw that at them too. And if Florida establishes that early, I think that becomes a problem in Game 2 for Boston, just because of energy, Jimmy. They were running. I think they were running on endorphins in Game 1. I think the endorphins are gone now. And if Florida can't do that, the Bruins could take advantage of it. I know what I said to you before the series started, and that is, if Boston wins Game 1, that changes the series. It does.
Yeah.
Yep. Really, and I think it has.
Yeah, I do. I think this thing's going deep. And then Vancouver and Edmonton, what can Vancouver possibly do to slow down that power play?
Play 5-on-5. Do exactly what Florida did to Tampa.
Yeah.
Which we talked about.
Limit it to 3.
3 penalties or less. 3 penalties or more. The Mendoza line is 3. If you go over 3, you're not winning.
And deep duty.
You're not winning. So 3 or less has to be the Mendoza line. And the biggest thing to me, don't pat. And I know Edmonton fans are going to say, Stuart Skinner's been great. Yes, I agree with you. I will cede you that point. But shoot the puck. Don't miss the net. if you're Vancouver, because make him make saves. Make him show everybody how good he is.
Yeah.
Make him do it.
Yeah. And I'll be interested. Does Patterson finally snap out of whatever this is that he's in? If he can do that, then we got a series. We got a really good series.
He played very well against Edmonton over the course of his career. But
especially this season.
It would definitely change. But the big thing to me is if Vancouver takes penalties, they're not going to.
Exactly. All right. Well, we want to thank Dave Goucher for joining us. Some great stuff and insight with the Vegas Golden Knights and scouting report of the Stars as well, since he just saw them for 7 games. So thanks to Goucher there. Thanks to all of you in the chat room there for your questions and comments. And, of course, to our production crew back in Montreal and our sponsors, CBET and TCS Customs and Logistics. For Pierre McGuire, I'm Jimmy Murphy. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind.